काम नहीं है, तब वो घूम नहीं पाएगी। वो तो मैं भी जानती हूँ उसको।
लॉन्ग आंसर लगा लो।
नोट्स है,
लॉन्ग आंसर से
नोट्स में क्या है पे
किस चीज के नोट
इसी चैप्टर के
ऐसे बने बनाए नोट्स ही मिलते
पहले तो है कि
नहीं। क्वेश्चन आंसर है वो लगा दूं कि नहीं?
लगा दो, लॉन्ग आंसर
बहुत लॉन्ग आंसर से और लगा दीजिए। मेरा तो कितनी मन मर गया खाने का,
तभी तो मैं पूछती हूँ और कुछ नहीं खाता होगा तो लोग भी चम्मच
दो लगा दिए। बहुत सारे शॉर्ट आंसर भी है, लॉन्ग भी है, सब ऐसे। कोई आएगा ही नहीं मुझे।
आ जाएंगे, 2 पीरियड है ना, फर्स्ट में आ जाएंगे, सेकंड में
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes, Beta, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Keshav and Snehal, I'll be sharing your report card on your parents' WhatsApp number tomorrow. Tomorrow is the PTM. Okay? So tomorrow early morning, I'll share the marks with your parents. Now tell me one time when I can speak to your parents. Tomorrow we have a PTM. It would be better if you people tell me. Accordingly, I'll call the parents. That would be easier for all of us. Because supposing I call and at that time they are involved in something, we of course cannot give this facility when the number of students are more. But like you people are only 4, so I can always make it convenient for your parents now. So if you tell me a time which will be suitable for your parents, I can call them or they can call me. But it would be better if you decide about the time so that it should not happen that I'm calling and your parents are not able to take my call. So what will happen then? I won't even be able to speak to them. Am I audible, Keshav, Snehal?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll
Yes,
give you a
ma'am.
minute. I'll give you a minute. Just think. Okay.
Ma'am, at around 8.
Yes, Snehal, what time?
8 o'clock, ma'am.
8 o'clock.
Yes, ma'am. Because then she'll start getting ready to go to the hospital. That's why.
Yes, that is what I'm saying. It's no point that when I call your parents and they're not able to take my calls. Sometimes even the number is not known to them. There is no point like this. So that's what I'm asking you. Whatever time, I'll make a call myself, and before 8 o'clock, I'll share the marks today night, if possible, or tomorrow morning, early morning. Before I speak to them, I'll ensure that 1 hour before I send the marks so that they can see the marks and in case they want to discuss something. Keshav, whom should I speak to? Mom or dad? And at what time?
Ma'am, to my mother at 9 o'clock.
You think? You tell
8:30.
me. Whatever is okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to speak. That's all what I want to.
Yes, ma'am.
8:30, 9. What time will be fine?
Ma'am, 9.
9 o'clock. I hope she's not out
Yes.
somewhere or she's busy or something.
No, ma'am. She is at home.
So she's at home only.
Yes, ma'am.
Then can I call her at 8:30 after Snehal's mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I'm noting down the timings so that the parents also know. Because after I call Snehal's mother, then I'll call your mother. I'll just note down 8 o'clock. I'll call Snehal. 8:30. I'll call Keshav. Before this,
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
forward the results to you people. Okay, beta.
Okay, ma'am.
Fine. I'll take the time from other parents. See, tomorrow we have a PTM. We'll not have classes, and Sunday we have Independence Day. Beta, none of you is interested in giving a speech on Independence Day. Anyone? No. You can simply make a video. No. You have to simply make a video,
Ma'am, do
beta.
you have to?
Yes.
Ma'am, what's the topic?
Independence Day. You can speak about anything related to your country, patriotism, anything. Independence Day is all about your country, bache. There is nothing as such.
And ma'am, do we have to speak in front of everyone, or do we have to make a video and
No,
then send
you
it?
have to make a video at your comfort at home. and then just send the video to me. The video will be posted on all the class groups. Class nursery to class 12 will post it on all the class groups. You have to simply make a video. You can make it in English, Hindi, you can recite a poem, you can give a speech.
Ma'am, for
In
how long? How long?
2 to 3 minutes. You can give it in school uniform, you can be in casual clothes, anything that suits the occasion, anything can be taken up. Okay? So if you're interested, give it a thought and just message it to me by today evening. But if you're interested, then please
Okay.
send video by tomorrow evening, Saturday, because we'll have to post it on Sunday. Sunday is Independence Day, day after tomorrow is Independence Day. So we'll have to post it better.
Okay, ma'am.
So what you need to do is basically you have to just think and tell me that yes, ma'am, I'm interested. That's all. You can even speak in Hindi if you want, English, whatever you want, you can do it. So tomorrow again we have a PTM. Sunday is a holiday. So I thought let's start the chapter from Monday only. I'm taking up the NCRT questions today of this chapter. NCRT questions, very important questions. They are, we always know. This question I've done many times with you. Features of the lives of Bedouins in the early 7th century. The word Bedouin comes from the Arabic word Badawin, which means a desert dweller. Badawin. And what does the word Badawin mean? A desert dweller. We have very less syllabus. That is why I'm making you more confident in these chapters. People who live in the deserts. Badawin. Tell me. Bedouin word comes from which Arabic word?
Badawin.
And it means desert dwellers, people who live in the desert. According to the nomadic tribes of the desert region of the Middle East are referred to as Bedouins. Not all people who live in the desert are Bedouins, beta. Those people who live in the Middle East area of the desert, Middle East, they are called as Bedouins. See, have some properties of them. They are herders, animal herders. They move from one place to another because they generally herd camels. So they keep moving from one place to another place to look for food for their camels and for themselves. The Asian Bedouins were polytheistic. They worshipped many gods. Okay? You see this one now. The Bedouins socially organized themselves into tribes. They made groups, and the groups were called as tribes. But there was a lot of fight, chaos, confusion within the tribes also. In the 7th century, the members of this tribe, influenced by the achievement of Muhammad and his vision of solidarity, started accepting Islam. By the time 7th century, these people, they became very much impressed by Prophet Muhammad, and most of them accepted Islam. So these are the 4 main features of Bedouins. Bedouin comes from the word Badawin, which means desert dweller. First point is they were herders. They used to keep on moving for food for cattle. They were polytheistic. They believed in many gods. Earlier, they believed in many gods. Third, they formed tribes, but the tribes were always fighting among each other. And the last, they were impressed by Prophet Muhammad, and they accepted which religion, beta?
Islam.
Islam.
Yes. So this is all about whom? Bedouins, desert dwellers. And they used to live in which part of the desert? Middle East. Listen carefully. After 2-3 questions, I'll ask you one-word answers from this. This also I've done many times with you. What is meant by the term Abbasid revolution? This was the first military revolution in the Muslim world. Abbasid revolution, we can say, this was the first military revolution in the Muslim world. This was led by Abbasid dynasty. That is why it is known as Abbasid revolution. And they were fighting against Umayyad dynasty. So let's have this Abbasid revolution. The first thing, if you talk about revolution in Muslims, then this was the first revolution. What is the name of the revolution?
Abbasid revolution.
Abbasid revolution.
And why do you think it was called Abbasid revolution? Because which dynasty?
Because it was led by Abbasid dynasty.
Yes, it was Abbasid dynasty. And they were fighting against which dynasty?
Umayyad.
Umayyad.
Umayyad dynasty.
We take it as the first Muslim revolution. Okay? This you can consider it as the first big Muslim revolution also. So Abbasids and Umayyads. Who is fighting? Abbasids. And they're fighting against whom, children?
Umayyad.
Umayyad.
Against Umayyads. Now let's go further. Let me deal it with you. Let me explain it to you a little more. Now, what were the main reasons? Why did they fight? What was the main reason of this revolution? Number one, promises made by Abbasids to restore the Tahadic civilization as formulated by the founder of Islam, Muhammad. What was the main reason, beta? There were promises which were made by the Abbasids. Abbasids, they made some promises. And what promise they made? That we will bring back the Tahadic civilization, the original civilization, which was actually the civilization which was based on the ideals of whom? Founder of whom?
Islam Muhammad.
Islam Muhammad.
Very good. So they wanted basically everybody to accept Islam Muhammad and Islam. They wanted to bring that civilization. And number two, the extreme desire to end all oppressions of the dissident groups like those inflicted by the Umayyads. There were some groups which were impressed by the Umayyads. So they wanted to totally oppress, totally spoil them, totally destroy them. So that was the reason that Abbasids, they attacked the Umayyads so that all the people start following Islam Muhammad and they can restore back the Muslim civilization. And second, there were some people who were infected by Umayyads to destroy them all, totally oppress them. Such an image of different Arabs as portrayed by the Abbasids helped them to win huge support of the masses. They got a lot of support, beta, from whom? The common man also. They made a promise, and to fulfill their promise, to make this promise a reality, they led a revolution under Abbasid leader. His name was Abu Muslim. Of course, it was Abbasid dynasty, but in Abbasid dynasty, who was the leader? Abu Muslim. What was his name?
Abu Muslim.
Abu Muslim.
So he started this and it continued for many years, and its climax came with the War of Zab. This was a war we had in 750. Finally, the Umayyad dynasty was completely destroyed. In which war?
War of Zab.
The War of Zab. So they started this basically for this purpose. The war started in 742. Many small wars kept on continuing for this main purpose of theirs. And finally, at 750, totally the Umayyads were destroyed. Give the examples of the cosmopolitan character of the state set up by Arabs, Iranians, and Turks. I have already done this question with you many times, but again, after 3 questions, we'll discuss after 5. Okay. Cosmopolitan means a variety. We say Delhi is a cosmopolitan city. Punjabis, Hindus, Muslims, Rajasthani, everybody lives there. So diversity is what we call as cosmopolitan. Let us discuss why Arabs can be called cosmopolitan, why Iranians and why Turks. First, we'll take up Arabs. Arabs were the state of Syria, Iraq, Iran, Egypt under their control. So they had all these 4 things under their control. Can I have the name of the 4 places? Syria. Yes. Syria, Iraq.
Iran, and Egypt.
Yes. So obviously, beta, they are coming under one place. So different cultures of different countries came together. Today, if I conquer Pakistan, India, Britain, Russia, and make it one, so obviously I'll have culture from different countries. Same thing happened with Arabs. They conquered these countries and then they had different cultures. Although majority of people were following Islam, of course, the people who came from Islam, Iraq were following Islam, and Iran also was Islam. Egypt, we had different people. We had Zoroastrians. Syria, we had Christians, Jews, Bedouins were also there. They were all there in the society. And they were given the freedom to conduct their own religion. They were given the right to property, right to religion, okay, on the payment of taxes like jizya and kharaz. Of course, they had to pay some tax to follow their religion. People of different cultures were also given opportunity to participate in administrative machinery. Matlab, they were given government jobs. For example, Bedouins, they were working as soldiers. And we also have in proof that there were some Christians who were working as advisors. And the Zoroastrians were working as officers, that is bureaucrats. So basically, it's a cosmopolitan nature. So many religions flourishing together. They're getting government jobs also. They can practice their own religion. So Arabs gave what nature? What nature was that given by Arabs? What character?
Cosmopolitan.
Let's talk about Iranians. The Iranians under the Abbasid dynasty, also showcase the spirit of cosmopolitanism. But we are talking about Abbasid dynasty now. Okay, they've already defeated whom?
Umayyad.
Umayyad.
Yes, Bache. So Abbasid dynasty, they also were very cosmopolitan in nature. For the first time, the caliphal status was claimed by the local dynasties other than the Islamic dynasties of Spain and North America. Now, earlier we had caliphs mainly coming from whom? Tell me, Islamic dynasties. We had now claimed, other people started claiming to be the caliphs now. So don't you think this is a cosmopolitan nature? This is a cosmopolitan nature of the caliphs. Yes, beta. Why do you think it is a cosmopolitan nature?
Ma'am, because local people from various states in various dynasties and not just Islamic dynasties were coming out as caliphs.
Yes, beta. If you see earlier, it was that only the Muslims were acting like caliphs. Now, if I say in India, okay, supposing there is a post for, or you can simply say fighting elections. So it's like everybody can go for it. There is no restriction as such for religions. But this is exactly what we say cosmopolitan nature. It was the first time that other religion people also started fighting for caliphs. Earlier, it was believed that caliphs were only who could contest for it?
Muslims.
Muslims. Okay, only the Muslims could go for it. But now others are also contesting for it. See the second one. The Abbasids made the influence international. It is no longer determined by the Arab nationality. It got extended to the community of believers. It is not that Abbasid people were followed by Arabs only. Internationally, we had people who believed in Prophet Muhammad. So they all came under Abbasid. So this cosmopolitan approach is understood from the acceptance of Persian tradition of governance. They accepted some rules from Persian tradition. Government services were open to non-Arabic speaking population also. So they are giving government jobs to people who could not speak Arabic language. They adopted some things from Persia also. They let people follow other religions. So we can say Iranians were also cosmopolitan. The Iranians under the Abbasid dynasty. The last is the Turks, beta. They had a wonderful hybrid civilization, Islamic principles of humanism and tolerance. They believe that everybody is a human being and we should tolerate each other. The Turks established themselves as the saviors and protectors of the people who had an experience of subjugation under other regimes. Now, all those people who had a very bad experience under other people's rules, these people, the Turks served as saviors for them, protected them. Subjugation means domination, exploitation. They were exploited or dominated by others. But who saved them? Who was the savior in such a case? It was the Turks. Under the reign of the Turks, the Persians, the Arabs, the Christians, the Jews, everybody lived peacefully. So these were also what in nature? The Turks are also, what can you call the Turks also?
Cosmopolitan.
Yes. So whenever this question comes cosmopolitan, you can simply focus on 2-3 general things. People allowed to follow religions, people given government jobs, nobody is subjugated, nobody is exploited. Let me take the fourth question with you. What were the effect of the Crusades on Europe and Asia? We have done this earlier. Crusades. Crusades are what?
Attacks.
Yes, beta. We have done this. What are crusades?
Ma'am,
Attack.
attacks.
Yes, beta. There was. We know about crusades. A very bad impact, a very bad effect they had, beta. On which relations? Relations between the Muslims and
Christians.
Muslims and Christians. So whenever we'll think about crusades, we'll think about the relationships between Muslims and
Christians.
yes, beta. And because of these crusades, the relations became very, very bad. The horrors of the wars forced the Muslims to constrain all ties with the Christians. They had those bad memories of the war and they said we will not have any ties, no relationships, no bonds. With whom?
Christians.
Yes, beta, with
Christians.
the Christians. Very good. They need to protect the areas, okay, now let's of inhabited by mixed populations, compel the Muslims to further act more strictly with the Christians. Now there were certain areas which had a mixed population, means Muslims are also living there and Christians are also living there. In those areas, the Muslims became very strict that we are not going to look at them, we are not going to talk to them, such kind of things started coming in. Apart from violence and terror, the crusade had some positive impact. These were the negative effects with that. Very bad relations between Muslims and Christians. They stopped all kind of relations with the Christians, but there was a benefit also, some positive impact. They gave a huge boost to commerce. The business really flourished. How? The wars were very long. They created a constant need for transportation of men and goods from east to west and vice versa. Like when the war is going on, men used to go for the war, then again come back on leave. The food was sent to the people who were on war. So a lot of transportation carried out. So people involved in transport made a lot amount of money. Okay, goods, where the things used to go from where? Goods from Damascus, Alexandria, Cairo. They flowed into the seaports of Italy to be further shipped to Europe. See, they are being sent from Damascus, Alexandria, Cairo via sea route. They used to go to Europe. So all these trading activities, export is also going on, transportation is increasing. So this actually made the Italian merchants very rich. So there was a lot of influence of these merchants on the international trade. So we had a diverse effect. Diverse effect means both positive as well as negative. It had both the kinds of effect, both positive and
Negative.
yes. Positive effect was that trade really flourished, lot of transportation, Italian merchants becoming rich, and this was the negative part for it. Only 5 long questions in a day, that's all. I'll be only taking one more question with you. This one first I'll be taking up. Please read this answer. This is very important. It's a long answer. Journey from Samarkand to Damascus. What cities came on the route and what all happened? Just read it quickly, 2 minutes. Only 5 questions I'll take up today. This is the last one.
Excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Peter.
Ma'am, my mother just messaged me that I messaged my mother about the timing, and she just messaged me back that we have to leave tomorrow for a conference that she has. So, ma'am, she was asking whether she can call you for the PTM today after class, maybe, or some other time that you are free.
You do one thing, dear. You just message me your mom's number because I have not received the consolidated report card from the school yet. So
Okay, ma'am.
as soon as I receive the consolidated report card, I'll message on your number. Okay, and then you tell your
Okay.
mom, I'll call. That's absolutely okay. First, let me send your result to your mom. As soon as I receive it from the school, I'll forward it to you. And then we can always
Okay,
speak in
ma'am.
the I'm absolutely okay. I can talk in the evening also. Same here, Keshav. I'm absolutely fine. Any time which is suitable. Because you all are 4 only, so I can always go according to the convenience of the parents. So I'll
Thank
message the result to you, then I'll call.
Send me the result.
But I am waiting for the consolidated results from the office. As soon as I get it, I'll let you know. Then I can talk. Because I don't know about your marks in many subjects. So
Yes,
once I
ma'am.
get it,
Ma'am, that's all right. That's all right. I was just asking that whether you will send me the result or my mother.
I'll send on your number. So you show
Okay,
the result, and after that we can speak. Let her also see first so that whatever ma'am wants to discuss, we can do it ahead.
Okay,
Keshav,
ma'am.
I'll
Thank you,
forward
ma'am.
the result too. Okay? Let your mom see. After that, we can talk.
Thank you, ma'am.
As always, Keshav has disappeared. Nothing new. Last 10 minutes he's never there. Snehal, you were absent for your history viva?
Ma'am, that day my network didn't work at all, so I was not able to attend any classes, or I would have taken it.
You
I
should
had
have said
prepared for it,
history.
but
Hmm?
I would have taken it, but the network didn't work. I tried to join also, but I was not able to.
Rita, you should have messaged me. I would have made a personal call and taken it. You would have simply left a message for me. Okay, chaliye, never
Sorry,
mind.
ma'am. Yes.
You lost on 5 marks. That's it. Let's discuss in parts now. Just from here to here. Tell me, from here to here, Bukhara. We'll first deal with this. Chalo, you tell me, what did you understand?
Ma'am, the journey from Samarkand to Damascus started off through the Silk Route. This route was a major route for trade in the textile of silk, and the major cities that were on the route were Bukhara, Merv, Herat, and Nishapur. Bukhara was a city that is the center of trade, scholarship, culture, and religion. Um, it was also the intellectual sector of Islamic world during the age of Samanids. Samanids.
Yes, Rita.
Um, Bukhara was also for a long time one of the main centers of world civilization, and the architecture of Bukhara was very uh, beautiful and was something to marvel at. Um, there were many architectures such as the Kalyan Minaret, the Tower of Death, etc. That were great examples of the various that were great examples of the architecture of Bukhara.
Good, beta, good. So we basically read that Bukhara was a very big or a very important center of trade, scholarships, religion, culture. It was a very important center. Okay. Name tells you it's a very important route for trade in silk also. And then we talked about cities like Merv, Herat, and Nishapur, which came on the way. Now this part's now second paragraph. Take your time, read it. Let's discuss. We're going to talk about camels and oasis in this.
Yes, ma'am. Great.
No? Yes, beta, speak.
Merv was an major oasis city in the Central Asia, meaning that it was a city that was located near an oasis. That is, oasis are a body of water that is found in the middle of a desert, and it was situated on the river Murghab River, that flows from Afghanistan. Um, Merv has a very large advantage due to the situation of of it on the banks of River Murghab, because it provided an easy southeast northeast route from the Afghan highlands towards the um, lowlands of Karakum, the Darya Valley, and the Khwarizm. It was also a natural stopping point for many traders from Iran to Transonia, the Silk Road. Um, this place was also a important stop during the time of Han Dynasty. Merchants, very many merchants traded horses and camels, and that made it an important city too.
Actually, the concept is easy. Only the names of the places and they are a little difficult. Otherwise, it's not difficult. We're talking about this city. This was a very important oasis city. It is believed that it was the largest city, Merv. The name is Merv. The oases over here are so big that they flow up to Afghanistan also. It is situated on Margab River. This has two advantages. We already said one is there's a very easy route, very easy way from highlands towards the lowlands. And so of course, it's going to be a stopping point for all the people who are going towards Iran. So this people used to come and trade for horses, camels. So it's a very important oasis city, Merv. Good. Now we're going to talk about the third largest city of Afghanistan. This one, read about this. That's all for today, only 5 months.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, beta, start.
Herat was the third largest city of Afghanistan. It is situated in the valley of Hari River, which Hari River flows from the mountains of central Afghanistan to the Karakum Desert in Turkmenistan. It is a city which has very fertile land and was known for wine. There are many historic sites, which includes the Herat Citadel and the Molaha complex. Herat was also known as the Pearl of Khuzestan during the Middle Ages. It was also one of the important cities of Khuzestan, Khorasan. Uh, there are many ancient trading routes of the Middle East, Central Asia, and South Asia. This routes strategic importance. The importance of Herat was that it had many roads to Iran, Turkmenistan, and the other parts of Afghanistan, which earns it the name the gateway to Iran.
Very good. So this name, it has got gateway to Iran, the third largest city of Afghanistan. We talked about. It is situated in the valley of Hari River. Good. And of course, it goes up to the Karakum Desert. This was very famous for wine making. Okay, very famous for traditionally it was known for wine only. Of course, it has a lot of sites. You talked about them, and then most important thing that you taught was that it lies on the route of the Middle East, Central Asia, and South Asia. So of course, this is the most important thing from Herat to Iran, or from Herat to Afghanistan. This was the route, so people call it as the gateway to Iran. Let me do the last part with you, then we can read. Nishapur or Nishabur is a city in the Razavi Khorasan province. The name comes from New Shabur, which means new city of Shapur. Fair Shapur or perfect build of Shapur. It was a new city, so this was why the name was given. It is located in a very fertile land. Okay, we have a higher mountain kind of a structure, Binalud, just below that. And nearby are the Turkish mines that supplied the world with Turkish or at least 2 millennia. For 2 million years, we had the supply of Turkish coming from these mines only. Nishapur, along with the earlier cities that we talked about, Merv, Herat, and Balkh, was one of the 4 great cities of this area. We talked about 4 great cities. All the diverse ethnic and religious groups lived there, and commercial routes, trading kept on going. This was very famous for its pottery. It was painted in a very transparent paint. It was famous for pottery and carpet weaving industry, and of course, mason work of the mineral Turkish, which was excavated or taken out from these mines. So these are just 5 questions we have done. I want you to be very confident of at least these 5 chapters which are coming with you. Fine, beta. Monday we'll start with the new chapters. Okay, hardly a minute left. You can join the other class. Okay, beta.
Thank you,
God
ma'am.
bless you, beta.